Hi, this is Mike Gant, and sorry, I'm laughing at myself because I'm trying to get this synchronized, the video here and then the timer. I'm trying to stay within. I'm going to try to stay within 15 minutes. I don't know if I'll keep to that, but right now that's my current goal. I checked this morning, and this is the first video podcast, if I can call it that, that I've done in 7.5 years. And interestingly enough, or at least interesting to me, is that the last one I did, which was, I called it VT001, Families, Wickedness, and Blessings, talking about Acts 3, 25, and 26. It's the perfect segue. Content-wise, I couldn't have asked for a better preliminary or prequel to what I'm going to say today and talk about. I haven't done one of these in 7.5 years, mainly just because life rearranging some things. And most of you who see this are going to come across it because you've read my book or are reading my book, which now sits as a website. I guess since 2009, I've had an online presence in one form or another, different blogs. Did I say my name was Mike Gant? I was supposed to say that in the beginning. I've had an online presence, and I've gone through a number of changes in the way that I present the material. My essential message, Jesus Christ in the Bible, has not changed. But obviously I've grown and matured. You can see that I've matured over the years. And I have a sharper focus, and that's why I'm going to restart these on a regular basis. I'm going to do these once a week, try to go for about 15 minutes a shot, and call them weekly help. Now, if you have come from my website, which is a book online, it's just a book you can read online, and an accompanying, and a very big appendix, which amounts to a library. But one of the features of that library is a page called Daily Help, where I kind of walk you through a Bible reading plan, and it's just that, to daily help you with reading the Bible for yourself and with your family. So this weekly help will just be a supplement to that. Now, there's several reasons for me doing this video. One of them is to provide sort of a catch-all way that I can communicate to whoever's trying to follow these plans at least once a week in a video format, which doesn't take, quite as long to do as maybe writing, because you have to do editing and proofreading and that sort of thing. I know sometimes if you read my material, you wonder, do you really proofread it? I do proofread it, but it's hard to be your own proofreader. So I'm dependent on readers to tell me when they've caught mistakes. And whenever I appreciate it, whenever anyone does, and I go back and immediately correct it, because I know it's very disorienting when you're trying to read something and then come across either a misspelling or bad punctuation or a duplicated word. It's just very distracting when you're trying to focus on spiritual things. But I've decided to do this again, and that was one of the reasons, is to provide a way to address things that aren't easy to address any other way. But secondly, is maybe to give a little more extended teaching. And thirdly, to give people who don't know me a way to sort of know me. I know that the things that I preach and teach are not things you hear every day. That everyone is going to heaven, that the second coming was accomplished long ago, and other things. These are not things you hear every day. And so if you're coming across these on the internet, a normal person is going to wonder, well, who is this person? Why should I listen to anything they've got to say? Not that you're seeing a video of me is necessarily going to give you a whole lot more reason, but at least give you some sense of the person that's behind the words that you read. And and maybe encourage you to ask questions online, might make you feel more comfortable asking questions. And maybe even some questions I'll answer here. But we'll see. But at any rate, a lot's happened in the last 7.5 years. And most important to your interest, I've really gotten a sharper focus on how to present. And, I think when I was still doing these were mainly audio podcasts I did before, and I would do the video while I was doing the audio podcast. But, the big change is that at that time I was writing books. I felt like books were the best way to do that. But it's just really hard to write a digital book that's readable, or at least that's easily readable. I don't enjoy reading digital books. I mean, I like to, if I'm reading a book, now if it's a novel, not that I read a lot of novels, but whenever I've read novels in the past, you read the page, you're looking for page turns. But when it's nonfiction, when I'm trying to learn about the Bible, or especially something that requires attention and thought, I like to underline and mark, and that's how I digest the material bit by bit, is breaking it down and going back and rechecking and rereading and making sure that I understand. So I know everybody's not the same type of reader, but I just felt like that writing the digital books was not getting the circulation that I wanted, not getting enough people access to material. So I reduced it all down to one book. I've got one book now, but it's very short. You can read the whole book in an hour. It's intentionally short. Most of my books are the same size as an average nonfiction book, which is about 50,000 words, sometimes up to 75. And some of my books are a little bit more than that, but for the most part, they're very much like a book that you'd see in a Barnes & Noble or you'd buy on Amazon. But this one book I intentionally did short, can be read in, as I say, 1 hour, 12 chapters, so 5 minutes a chapter. So I just want somebody to get through the book. It's called The Duty of a Man, and that's what I'm going to call this podcast series that I'm now starting or restarting. And of course, the duty of a man is to find a woman who will agree to marry him and form a family and have children. In other words, to provide, protect, and procreate. Most people know this. I mean, I know our society has lost its mind, and people say all kinds of strange things. A family is a family is a family, and they'll say that as if that makes sense, and it's just repeating words. It doesn't say anything. But most people understand the definition. A man's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to protect. He's supposed to provide. And he and his wife are supposed to have children and raise them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Well, that gets to the second part, the spiritual dimension. The duty of a man is to read the Bible, practice it, and teach that to his family. Back when people were going to church, and before that going to synagogue, that was the way people consumed written material in a time when literacy rates were low. Most people couldn't read back in biblical times, and even if they could read, most people couldn't afford to have the whole Bible in their house because and didn't have room for it because it was on these big old scrolls, and it was very expensive, and there was no printing press, and so people got to handwrite it. So you went to synagogue or to church to hear things being read, and that way, even if you were illiterate, a population, a country or a city, whose population, maybe the literacy rates were only 5 or 10%, everybody could still know what the Bible said if they would just go to where it's being read. It's like me going to the UN and listening to people from all over the world speak languages I don't understand. They got interpreters there, and that's what they went to churches and synagogues for. But nowadays we got our Bibles. We keep them right. We've got them in our home. We don't need to go somewhere to read them. And so a man should be reading the Bible every day, not once a week, reading it every day, and reading it, having private devotions with the Lord, and then his family as well. And, I hope you'll actually go back and listen to that last video I did 7.5 years ago, because that will give you a good context for what we're going to do if you don't have enough already. But men are supposed to lead. The reason that society is collapsing right now is because men are not leading families. And I know one of the mistakes I've made, you'll get, in all my teaching, it was the book, the library of books and other materials that I have online. You learn, you benefit from the things I've learned, the easy way and the hard way. I've made a lot of mistakes. And one of the mistakes I made as a husband and as a parent was thinking that that's just something we're supposed to do, and it didn't require a lot of intentionality or focus. It just happened in the course of life. And meanwhile, you needed to, focus on other things, or you could focus on other things. But I've come to realize, no, the spirituality of your family is your responsibility, men. And, and you need the help of a woman to do that. That's why God, made Eve. She was made to be a helper, a helpmate. But it's not up to her to be the initiator. You can't say like, oh, that's her department, spiritual, that's her department or something. No, you've got to lead. You've got to initiate in spiritual things just like in physical things. And that's what this video podcast is about, is just giving you yet another way to help you do that. You can do it. You can read the Bible and understand it. You can know Jesus, and that's what it's all about. Jesus is God in the flesh. God came here and lived a human life before us so that we could know him. He drew close to us, and we didn't know who he was, and that's why we got all upset and beat him, rejected him, crucified him. But he knew that would happen. He rose from the dead to be our teacher and our Father and our Lord forever and ever. And I will help you get to where you don't need my help. That's my whole goal in being your helper, is to work myself out of a job so that you can do what I'm doing with your family. And then as your children are grown and they begin to marry and have children of their own, that you can teach them how to teach their families. And we can, make some changes that are going to help people survive what's to come. Because things are bad now, but, they're going to get worse. And a strong family that's the place to start. There's got to be order. And order starts with the man acting like a man. Now that has been distorted. It's been caricatured, misunderstood, but we can work through that. You can work through that. You may have already worked through it. And just know that it's real simple. Find a woman, stay faithful to her for your whole life, have children, and raise them up to be like Jesus. Teach them to follow Jesus as you're following Jesus. You can't teach somebody else to follow Jesus if you're not following him yourself. So I'm looking forward to being able to do this. As I say, in the last 7.5 years, I've gotten a lot of focus. I know I have a much better sense of how to help people and how to convey these truths, these wonderful truths. Everyone is going to heaven. And if you happen to stumble on this, you might wonder, well, why should I obey God if everyone's going to heaven? Well, I wrote a little short essay. It'll only take you 2 minutes to read it. So just go to the book. It's at JesusChristAndTheBible.info, I-N-F-O. JesusChristAndTheBible.info. And that will get you to the duty of a man, and then to the appendix, which is a library with all the other stuff. So thanks for listening. And I look forward to speaking with you again. God bless you. Jesus Christ is Lord, and the Bible is his word.